you have like a genius idea of what we should talk about next one, let me know. Fair enough? Okay. We're going to start with this. Oh, yes. So tonight's topic is kind of interesting one. Before I was a real estate agent, I was a building contractor and ran coffee shops. And I didn't really know anything about the real estate industry or what real estate agents actually did. And I think that probably goes for most of the public. So hopefully we can shed some light on what we actually do. So that's the topic tonight. So the next slide is a little bit about me to let you guys know. Can you do the next one? Kind of, you know, it's nice to know, like, okay, what's this guy about? Especially those of you who don't know me. I've been in real estate for 11 years as a licensed real estate agent. I've been a licensed contractor for 13 years. So my father's a builder, my grandfather was a builder and developer and also a realtor, and I'm a 7th generation contractor. So I grew up in this industry, but I was always on the construction side. Matt's, I don't know how many generations of construction you are. You're 7 too? Let's go, baby! I've got a degree in business finance and economics from Morgan State University. In 2007, sold multi-million-dollar coffee shops. We closed on that October of 2021, so that was kind of a recent sale that we did. That started in 2010, so that was another 11-year journey. Welcome to the party. Our real estate team this year will do over $200 million in sales, and that's a lot. I own about $14 million of real estate myself right now that I personally own and manage. I'm currently building out a 16 townhome subdivision, and I develop commercial and residential property. So what development is there's a piece of land and say it's zoned farm use. We get it rezoned, and then we go through the arduous process of planning. Brad, you're on the Jackson County Planning Commission?
I am.
So Brad knows what I'm talking about. It can take years. This 16 townhome subdivision we're talking about here, we bought the land in 2017. We couldn't start building on it until 2021. So it was a 4-year process to go from rural residential, get it zoned, get it preliminarily approved through all of the government agencies, and then eventually you're able to do construction, put pipes and wire in the ground, put roads, curb gutters, sidewalk, street lights, and then you have lots, and then you can build. So it's a very complicated process, and it takes a lot of time. But all of this is not being said to brag. It's to let you know that, like, I know what I'm talking about, and we're able, as a team, to help you with whatever you need as far as real estate goes. There's not going to be much that has been done that you're talking about doing that I haven't done, or one of my advisors like Matt, attorneys, my parents that haven't done it themselves. So you don't just get me, it's like a wealth of knowledge and generations of experience. And that's super critical, especially when you're buying or selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. What's the next slide say, Pat? Any questions on that? Thoughts? Good. Okay, so this will be like a recurring theme through this. So we kind of make up a topic, and then it should be QB. You got the old one? I'll make up a topic, and then we have to create all the content. So what I can liken this to in sports would be like the quarterback of the deal, right? You look at Tom Brady. He's not necessarily running the ball or doing the blocking, which is a lot of the heavy lifting in real estate, but without the quarterback, it's very hard to score, right? That's kind of like the leadership component, the one who can see what's happening and can call an audible and change what's happening to throw the defense off. So that's really what real estate agents are. Another example I use, because I'm from construction, is a framing contractor. So when you're building a home, the framer puts up the structure, right? So the exterior, the interior walls, but they also have to know how the drywaller works, because when you put drywall on a ceiling, there's places there's not wood, and that's called backing. So you have to understand the drywaller's job. You also have to know where the toilets go and how plumbers work, because we're sitting on floor joists that run this way, and then there's plywood on top of this, and there's carpet on it. But if we had a toilet in here and it was a bad framer who didn't understand what the plumber's job was, there would be a joist where the toilet goes, and the toilet couldn't go there. So then you would have structural issues, or you'd have to move the toilet. Same thing goes with electricians. They nail a certain way because they know where the electricians drill through the walls. And if the electricians hit screws, they get really mad because they have really expensive bits. Same with the heating and air guy. They got to know what the heating and air guy's plan is because they're the one that build the platform for the furnace to go on. And they also have to make sure that there's paths for the ducts to go throughout the house. So a framer, when building a house, has to know all the other jobs that are involved to properly do their job. Just like a quarterback has to know all the plays and what the defense is doing to make sure that they can score and they can win the game. So at the end of the day, your real estate agent is the quarterback for your deal. We have to know about appraisers, and we have to know how to read appraisals. And has anyone in here seen an appraisal? It's like, where is the value? Like, where's the value? It's at the bottom of like page 6. And then the only place that you know whether or not they require any repairs would be, it'll say subject to, and it might say like 3 things. So you have this, I don't know, 60, 70, 100 page document, and most clients are like, I'm clueless. Does it say the square footage of the house anywhere? We also have to know lenders, right? We have to know what the good lenders are, and also the lenders for you to avoid. Maybe some lenders are good at certain types of loans, and some lenders are better at other types of loans. So to help you choose the right ones, because a lot of times when you're buying a house, you got one shot. You choose bad professionals, bad subcontractors, then the deal's not going to close, or it's going to be very stressful when it shouldn't be. We also have to know about construction stuff, like why is this floor sagging? Well, it depends on when it was built and the type of foundation system it's on. If it's old, like, you know, post and pier, and you know that there's only support every 4 or 6 feet, then there's going to be high spots and low spots between the supports based on the age of the home. Also to do a quick walk through the outside and see if there's anything major wrong with the foundation on a newer home. A good agent can do a quick walkthrough and go, I mean, we can write an offer, but I can tell you right now, this thing, the foundation's not super hot. We also have to know about roofs, plumbing, siding, decking. All of these items can be recalled items. I walked through a house with Taylor the other day, I don't think he's here, and it had the Generation 1 Trex decking. And you know it's Generation 1 because it's solid all the way through, and it kind of puffs up because water gets underneath the top layers of it and freezes and then causes the decking to decompose, and eventually it just falls apart. And it's recalled, so if you know what you're doing, sometimes you can get money back from the manufacturer for the recalled product. There's also have been multiple brands of roofing that have been recalled. If anyone has ever driven by, there's a bunch of townhomes and apartments on Modoc and McAndrews. It's like I don't know what it's called. They're all white. And all their roofs went bad like 15 years before they should have. And with an HOA, they collect money every month in anticipation of replacing a roof in 20 years. They didn't have enough money to replace the roof in 10 years. We knew about that and advised our clients that, hey, you can buy one of these, but just know that you're going to write a $10,000 check because of the recalled roofing that's on these, that you're all responsible as an association. So stuff like that, right, is how we have to know what everybody else has going on. Same thing with home inspectors, surveyors, to know whether or not you may need flood insurance. And one of the good indicators of that, if the street name that you're buying on has water or brook or creek or river in it, there's a good chance there's flood insurance involved. Yeah, right? Jackson Creek Estates, a lot of that has flood insurance. Delta Waters, Spring Brook, yeah, there's, because those are lower lying areas and you see canals running all over, and a lot of those have issues with water. So, and surveyors are the one that do the elevation certificates, and little known fact, the first floor of a house is the bottom of the crawl space, not the actual floor that you stand on. So sometimes if you don't understand what a first floor elevation is, you can also be confused. So those are some of the many things that real estate agents do that you may not really know about, but are super important, like to know, just as, you know, if you're buying or selling, and we come up with a different number than some guy that doesn't know what he's doing, there's probably a pretty good reason why. And then what we do is professionals, we don't do a great job at conveying our knowledge and the value that we bring, which is why we're doing this seminar today. Like, yes, we are expensive, but we're expensive for a reason, because we're good. Hopefully. Another big one is pressure on deals. Deadlines exist for a reason. Who has gone to, or seen the polls like at 4:30 when the polls close at 5 o'clock for votes? I'm sure you've seen it on the news, right? You got 2 weeks to vote. Or for Oregonians, we get a ballot like a month before, and what are half of us doing the last possible freaking day for you to mail them in, right? So deadlines work. And what we do is we create the pressure. So if you have 10 days to do something, we try to do it in 2. Knowing that, like, for example, an inspection period. Most inspection periods are 10 business days. So that's 2 weeks. But if we wait, which we've had a lot of people, sellers that are self-represented or buyers that are self-represented, and they have the inspection happening on the 9th business day. And by the time the report is received, there is no time to negotiate. There is no time to figure out how much a new roof costs. If the inspector says, hey, you need to have someone look at the heating and air system or have someone look at the roof. So we compress the time and we say, hey, we got 2 days to get this thing done. That means that gives us 8 days to get any additional information we need to make sure that we're properly servicing our client. Because there's nothing worse than having hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line and not enough time to really figure out how much it's going to cost to fix the house, or if this is the right house for you. So putting that pressure is super important. And then also, right, if you're buying a house, there's a good chance that the seller selling the house is also buying a house based on this sale. So if you're not meeting with your lender right away in getting all the loan documents to the lender, or all of your financial documents to make sure that you can actually get the loan, you're slowing down the process. And if you're not ordering the appraisal in time, so that's what we do as the real estate agent. It's like, hey, you got 3 days to apply for the loan. I bet you didn't know that. That's right in the contract. So as soon as the offer's accepted, we let the lender know, hey, reach out to our buyer and start the loan process. By the way, order the appraisal immediately. So we're always pushing these timelines where the average person just doesn't know, right? Okay, we got the offer accepted, what's next? And if the agent's not very communicative in putting pressure on the deal, you could blow through multiple time frames and all of a sudden it's chaotic and you don't know why. Or it's the opposite. If you're working with a good one, it's very smooth and you're like, are these guys even worth anything? Like, did they do anything? But it's all the stuff we're doing in the background to make it look easy.
Something that I realized is not in this presentation is just like the number of deals that we do in a year, the number of deals that you've been a part of. That's not a bad number, but they may not be as well practiced.
Let's put that in here somewhere. Didn't we say Tiger Woods?
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, so what Kat's saying is, you ever seen Tiger Woods golf?
Okay.
God dang, the guy makes it look easy. Pick up a freaking golf club, except for you, you're pretty good. But me, it's like, dang, this is hard, right? We've got a guy on our team that's a property manager, and I happen to manage a few of my properties, and they make it look easy, but it's not easy. Right, especially if I haven't done it. I'm like, Matt's dealing with it right now. He's like, yeah, guy wants to smoke, but he doesn't, he's still smoking his RV outside the house. I'm like, bro, don't do it. So like, whatever it is, whatever profession you're in, you probably make it look easy, but then when someone steps into those shoes, it's like, oh wow, this is, I thought renting out a house was easy, but how do I find a good applicant, How do I price this thing to sell? How do I know, or to sell, to rent? How do I know these things? So that's what Kat's talking about. And the next thing is we offer protection. So we have errors and omissions insurance. Now, errors and omissions insurance does not cover fraudulent misrepresentation. So if you're straight up lying about the square footage of your home or the condition of something or if the roof ever leaked, don't lie about it. Because we're gonna shoot you straight like, hey, the reality is most people breeze through the paperwork and don't read it very well. We always read it very well, but we need to disclose everything. Everything, everything, everything. If you did an addition and it wasn't permitted, say I did an addition and it wasn't permitted. Don't skirt it. And if you do that, then you're covered by the errors and omissions insurance because you disclosed everything about the house. And if some random thing comes and hits us upside of the head, then our insurance covers legal fees for protection of that thing. But only if it wasn't fraudulent misrepresentation. But that's a huge one. So the question I ask people is, if you were getting sued for $500,000, would you go to court and self-represent, or would you find an attorney? Attorney? Okay, yeah. And would you find the cheapest attorney, or would you want to find a good one? Would it be worth to pay a little more to make sure your ass is covered in a lawsuit? Well, that's what we do, right? Because you're buying and selling. The average sales price in Medford is about $440,000. So, and you very easily could end up in a lawsuit. I don't know if Autumn pulled that up. Do you have the stats?
I couldn't find that exactly. Go ahead.
So there's some broad numbers. You can't hold me to this exactly, but it's about 1 in 1,000 real estate transactions end up in a lawsuit.
There's 2 options.
Right. So 1 in 1,000. That's 0.01%. 0.01%. half of those lawsuits are people that represented themselves, either as buyers or sellers. So you're 500 times more likely to end up in court because of a real estate purchase or sale if you don't have a real estate representing you, right? So imagine like if you eat this food, you're 500 times more likely to get cancer. Would you avoid the food?
We found it.
It doesn't say how many end up in lawsuits, but yeah, most of them.
Yeah, so right, we're always kind of looking for other stats, and so this is from a real estate blog. 10% of for sale by owners hate the paperwork. 6% of sellers struggle to sell on time. Right, those are talking about like time frames and understanding what's happening. Can you do it?
Probably not very effective.
Another thing that real estate agents do is we bring professionalism to a transaction. You know, think of Craigslist versus going to an auto dealership. Right, the auto dealership has a nice building. They have trained salespeople. They offer warranties. They offer financing, trades, other options. And then if you find a car on Craigslist, right, it's a different feel. Like half the time the car isn't washed and isn't full of gas, and you don't know if they're hiding any latent issues with the vehicle. So the value just decreases when professionals aren't involved, and the value increases when professionals are involved. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. That's why car dealerships exist, right? Because GM could sell cars directly to its consumers like Tesla does, but they don't. Neither does Ford or Chevy, or I guess they're the same. I don't know what their car brands are. Fiat. Because the reality is like the professionals, especially when you do a ton of those deals, they're going to make it easy. You know, like the DMV paperwork for buying and selling a car is a lot. Well, the paperwork transferring title on homes and making sure the settlement statements are correct and all the loans are paid off and all the liens are cleared and the title is clean. There's a lot that goes into that as well. But with professionals, because we do it all day, every day, it's just part of what we do. And a big one there also, we call it productive paranoia. When you do a lot of deals like our team does, you know when something's wrong. Sometimes you'd be like, I haven't seen the earnest money on that file. And without earnest money, a deal is dead. So if you have a buyer, if I rep a buyer, and we decide the earnest money is due in 3 days, and the earnest money isn't deposited by 5 p.m. on the 3rd business day, the seller can terminate and move on and sell to somebody else. And stuff like that happens all the time. Where we're like, hey, my assistant, myself, are like, hey, earnest money, we calendar it, we set alarms, and we make sure that it gets deposited, because if we miss that time frame, the deal's dead, your buyer loses their house. Not good.
I'd say as people join our team, you know that they're starting to like really, like all the real estate stuff is starting to click. They're getting really good at what they do when they come in and they're like, I woke up at 2 in the morning in just like an absolute panic. It's like, yep, you have arrived.
But that's what you need. That's what you need with a good builder, good legal counsel, a good real estate agent, is that productive paranoia. Someone that is paying attention and can just tell when something's off. And we're usually right, because you have the experience, your subconscious is going, hey, we're missing something. Or a lot of times, right, because we know lenders, I've gotten a call like, hey, I can get this interest rate, but it's going to cost me this much. And I'm like, I've talked to 6 other buyers that got that interest rate and they didn't have to pay anything for it. You need to shop around. Or, hey, that's a great rate, just lock it today. Because we know, we're in it. The general public, our buyers and sellers, are not in it every day. And so we have to use our experience to their benefit to save them money, to give them solid advice, and to keep them out of court. A good agent, yeah. That's another free advice. Always consider the source, right? Dad's been a manager at Best Buy for 15 years, and he told me that house isn't worth that. It's like, okay, Best Buy's great, nothing to do with real estate. You know, where I was looking on Zillow, just, we can have these conversations and dig deeper into values and why they're coming up with it. And a lot of times what you'll find is, I just do this all the time, we have our finger on the pulse of the market. Interest rates dropped earlier this week and our showing activity shot up the next day. So I'll know if something, and I didn't know rates dropped because I wasn't paying attention to rates that closely, but I checked rates after I got 16 phone calls in 2 days when I hadn't had 16 phone calls in 2 weeks prior. So we're able to let our clients know immediately about shifts in the market, and they'll be writing about how middle of August buyer activity spiked in October, right? Like in the newspaper and the major news articles, because they lag. But because we're in it and especially like in micro markets, we can tell things immediately and be like, hey, time to drop the price, time to raise the price, time to make a move. Like right now, because interest rates have dropped and sellers are a little bit more apt to sell than they were 3 months ago, it's a good time to buy right now. I don't know if it will be next week. It depends on what interest rates are doing, but the sellers are on the ropes a little bit right now because everyone's overpriced their homes. And they're having to do price reductions and offer credits to buyers like the good old days. And if you can couple that with low rates, all of a sudden you can build yourself a pretty good deal. The reason that the sellers are on the ropes is because interest rates are up. So the same home cost that buyer a lot more money on a monthly basis 2 months ago than it did 6 months ago. So those are the kind of opportunities that we can show you. Like, hey, rates are low. Let's go kick the seller in the shins, get a good deal, and get a good interest rate. And that's like the advice that I'm giving today. But that may change next week. So if you're working with someone that's not doing this a lot, they may not know that this is even happening. But now you do. And then the other cool thing, like, and this is more specific to us, we're a team. We got 12 licensed agents and 4 full-time staff. And on top, so we have each other, right? If I need a second opinion on evaluation, I may, we're gonna collaborate. If one of them has a question, we meet every morning to talk about whatever's happening, because every deal's different, and there's some weird stuff that happens out there. Like the general public, who has worked with the general public in a job before? Some crazy people, right? We all laugh like, we're the crazy ones too. So we can collaborate, and you don't just get one mind or one opinion. A lot of times, like, we're running valuations or scenarios by multiple people on multiple days inside this office, as well as the professionals that we're connected with outside of the office. So with us, you don't just get one agent, you get the whole kit and the caboodle. Anyone know what a caboodle is?
Yes. Store your makeup in it. That's why you don't know what it is.
Oh, that's not what kittens go in?
Yeah, it was like big in the 80s, 90s.
Oh, I thought it was kittens and caboodles. Kit and?
Make a kit and the caboodle to go with it.
Shoot. Okay, we also know kind of like the rules or the guardrails, right? Like, and you've got a road, right? And there's got like the little guardrails that keep you from going off the cliff. So in a real estate transaction, and this changes pretty rapidly too. There's like, like, hey, I want to write the offer for $300,000 under asking. I'm like, okay, let's not do that, right? But so we know maybe, hey, we can hit them for 30 grand, and that's going to be acceptable, because if you go too low, the people would rather burn their house to the ground than sell it to you, right? And we'll and we'll let you know, like, hey, this is normal, this is not normal. Both is when representing a seller and when representing a buyer. We'll have people ask for a new heating and air system that's not necessary, but then I will pick up the phone, or one of the people that's doing the deal will pick up the phone and ask why. What's the real concern here? I had one where they wanted a new heating and air system because it was a little bit old, they were paying cash, and they didn't have enough money to replace it if it were to go out in the next year or two. So instead of $15,000, we paid $700 for 2 years of home warranties. That way, if the heating and air does go out in the next 24 months, that they will pay a service fee and get it fixed or replaced. So that was an example of knowing what's normal and what it's like, hey, the thing works, we're not replacing a working system, what's the concern? So we're able to keep the deal going, save the seller $14,250, and everyone's happy because we know kind of what the guardrails are. And we also know when they change, right? So now all of a sudden we got like a new set of lanes over here, and this one went away. Because let's say February last year, we'd list a house on Thursday, we'd have 10 showings and 3 offers by Monday, right? And we would know that. Now we list a house on Thursday, we have 1 showing and 1 offer in 3 weeks or a month and a half. So we won't give credits here, right? Buyer, you pay, if you want, oh, good, come take a look. Because things move, and we've known this for a while. So now we're like, okay, like, when we meet with our clients, here's some expectation, a little low on money, there's a good chance we can get the seller to help out with some of your loan fees. And with our sellers, we let them know, like, hey, there's a good chance they're going to need some help. That's now normal in the market. We've moved. And because we do this all the time, we know that. And then we can address the pricing issues as they come, so you don't get blindsided by it later. Like, I thought we were here when we're actually over there. Here's the Tiger Woods slide. Well, it's no fun anymore. I just have a cavity filled. Dentists are like, they're pretty good at what they do. Just a little neat, right? Sticking needles up in there. It didn't hurt, surprisingly. So when I see other professionals doing what they do best, I know that they didn't just wake up and were that good. So when you're good, you really do make it look easy, right? What would be an example of that other than LeBron James and Tiger Woods?
Mechanic is a great example.
Yeah. Yeah, I like look under there.
No idea. You have no idea.
My trailer lights don't work on any of my trailers. I don't know where the freaking fuses are for it. I pulled a bunch of fuses out and like cut my finger and quit. So it's like, I don't know, man. And they'll probably go, it's that one. $150! Right? So it's like that in all industries, but it's true. And if you don't believe me, pick up a scalpel. We can do some surgery. I had an old school guy tell me this one time. The big thing that real estate agents do is we take the brain damage so you don't have to, right? So you got a deal, it's a crazy deal, and the buyer's demanding certain things and the seller's demanding certain things. We go get punched in the face and get the black eye, get yelled at. I had a guy, we got a lowball offer and I presented it to him and he jumped off of his deck and broke his leg.
What?
Yeah, wow! It was a divorce situation, it's kind of crazy. But, so I'm dealing with the brain damage and then take it back to the buyer and say, okay, we've got a counter for, X, Y, Z. And they have no idea what it took to get that signed. The tears, the screaming, and then hearing people out and then calming them down and talking reality and helping them understand what's normal in today's market. So there's a lot that we do to get a deal to close, right? So we create the pressure, we know what's normal, what's not normal, and then we get brain damage a lot. Matt had some brain damage this week.
I had a lot of brain damage.
But that's what we do. So that's a big part of what we get paid for is for you guys to be kind of shielded from, the general population. Yeah, low appraisals. We come with solutions, right? Because problems happen. There's always problems. It's like, okay, and that's the rule in our office too. Like, don't come to someone with problems. Come with solutions. Okay, here's my problem. I can either do this, I can do this, or I can do this. What do you think would be the best? Now we have something to talk about, and that's what we do with our clients. Hey, you had a low appraisal, click. It's like, hey, appraisal came in low. The first thing we're doing is challenging the appraisal. I've already searched, found 3 comps that are going to justify it, so we're not going to accept this, we're going to fight for it, and we're going to get you more money. That would be an example of what a good agent is going to do. And just know, like in any industry, that there's the good, the okay, and there's the not so great people. So not all real estate agents, not all builders, not all mechanics, not all golfers were created equal. So make sure that you're working with a good one, because there's always going to be some inherent brain damage, like if you have to move twice, you're moving across the country, or you're selling a house that's been poorly maintained. Like some of that stuff is unavoidable, but we help you avoid as much as possible. So if you're getting kicked in the head a lot as a client, like you should reach out to us, and then maybe we can help you. I don't know. We're also a one-stop shop for, we have a vendor list. So anything you need, right? So you buy or sell with us, we want to stay with you in the long haul. So yes, we did a transaction together, but everyone gets invited to our events, and everyone has our email and phone numbers to make sure that when you need a landscaper, when your house needs to get repainted, if you need a roofer, a plumber, if you need an air company, especially when it's super hot out, that you come to us first, because we're working with all of these contractors and lenders and title people all the time, and we'll know if that's a good price, and the ones that actually call you back are the ones that take the deposit and finish the job versus the ones that don't. And it's unbelievable how often that contractors will take money as a deposit and then never do the job. I'm dumbfounded by it. Even in today's age with cell phones and Yelp reviews and Angie's List, it happens all the time. I have some of my more reputable builders that have finished homes that other builders took all of the money from. There was a bank involved too, so the bank gives all the money to the builder and the builder leaves. But the clients owe $400,000 on a half-built house. So it is real, and there's multiple builders that have done that in the last 2 years that I know of. That my guys have gone and finished the jobs and feel terrible about the situation. So we can help you even, right, because everyone here is a client for life. So if you ever bought or sold with us, you ever plan on it, like we're here to take care of you now, and it does not matter if we're gonna like make a commission on. We wanna make sure our people are taking care of anything that's real estate related or construction related, and or just general advice on investing. If you're thinking stock market versus real estate, like we can chat about that. Which is the next slide. A good real estate agent can make you a lot of money, right? This is more for investors, builders, but I have access, our people have access to deals that are not on the market and may never hit the market. So if you're savvy and you wanna roll, like we a lot of times have options that no one else even knows about. But one of the caveats with that is if you're a pain in the rear, we're probably not gonna ship it off to you. So that's something like, and if we're a pain in the rear, you're probably not gonna wanna work with us. So there is like a certain level of like understanding, especially with off-market deals, like, hey, we can get you this, but you can't lowball it, you can't jack us around with price, right? Because we have kind of different lanes with off-market stuff. But there's a lot of money to be made, right? A good agent finds a builder a few great deals on lots. The builder builds the homes. The real estate agent sells them for top dollar. They can do that over and over again. Development properties are another one. Or maybe we run into people, and this has happened from time to time, where they're like, we just need it sold tomorrow. Who do you have? We'll sell it for $50,000 less than it's worth if you can get us someone tomorrow. Who are we gonna call? We gonna call the client that's a total jerk? Or are we gonna call someone that's cool? Right, that kind of stays within the lanes. So, depending on your situation, your appetite for investments, a good real estate agent really can give you a bag of money. Like we're gonna get our commission too, that's why we wanna do it. But we're here to, like, if you have a certain set of skills, right? If we have a buyer that's a roofer, we're gonna go look for houses that need new roofs. Or, and we're gonna call other agents, hey, you got anything off market? To put some deals together to help build you equity, or if you're a builder or investor, to make money. Rentals are the same way. A lot of people don't want to list their rentals for sale. Looking to buy a rental, we may have some that no one even knows about. And that the person's willing to take a little bit less to avoid the headache of dealing with tenants and all the other crazy stuff that comes with it. Every tenant seems to have COVID every time we try to show a house. It's like, oh, can't be here for 2 more weeks. Yeah. Risks of a private sale for FSBOs. Most of the time when you do a private sale, it's because they already have a connection with a buyer. Helped the Benningtons do one. They had a friend, and it was one of those deals. We just did the paperwork to make sure everything was above board, but the seller already had a buyer, and that's where most of them come from. And then the ones that don't are really where it's problematic, because now you're in a $500,000 lawsuit, self-represented, and then, I don't know, it's like 90-some-odd% of buyers have a real estate agent. So now it's seller alone versus real estate agent with lots of experience. The odds just shift. Even if everything goes smoothly, like the risk just increases when there's professional representation on one side and not professional on the other. Signage actually does matter. 20% of our sales are done based on signage. And I mean, this is your typical sign, right? I know personally when I see that, I smile, because they're probably getting lowballed.
It looks like a garage sale sign. Like they're next to each other in the store. Like you can get a garage sale.
I saw one today and giggled. They just had a phone number and a price. It's like, sweet.
Is there a risk for the buyer in this type of transaction?
There can be risk of the seller not disclosing things, or of the seller not moving out when they say they're going to move out. So disclosures and possession can be 2 big ones. And the problem is, like, to enforce a contract, you have to go to court, and it's expensive, and it's time consuming. Like you could be 100% in the right, you totally got ripped off, and it might take a year to even get in front of a judge. So all this time, and that happened quite a bit during COVID, where I sell my house, and then I agree to, and because the lanes were over here more shifted into like a seller's favor, like, hey, I want to live here for free for 30 days or 60 days after close. So you buy my house, I get all my money. You have a mortgage. I live here for 2 months. And then, I don't really feel like moving. And what do? Like they're not moving out. So, and you couldn't do evictions during COVID. So this was considered holdover tenancy, which is different, but you still have to, you're right, they're supposed to move out. You gave them $1 million or whatever for a place in San Francisco, and they're not gonna move out. And then you gotta go through the court system and get a lawyer and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. So those would be some of the risks, where a real estate agent would be like, dude, get out.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask. Yeah, how would that be different if they were represented by a real estate agent? So it's just more pressure from
Yep.
a professional party on their
Yeah,
side.
pressure, our reputation's on the line. There's people we say no to as far as transactions go, like, hey, I don't think it's worth it. And so, and if also, because of the experience, we may know, like, I wouldn't recommend that long of a holdover tenancy ever.
Right.
Because it's too long, like maybe 14 days, and then we have special paperwork that has very specific remedies if they don't get out, like the sheriff shows up immediately, not go through the court system. So there's ways, and I heard about that stuff from other agents in other markets, and we immediately implemented that, like, okay, we need to make sure if they do stay after, it's very short, we have all the paperwork in order, and that we know these people are legit and they're actually moving out. So one of the things, we would stop the close if they didn't have somewhere to go. Like, hey, we don't want to make you homeless, because that can happen, and that was a big fear when the market was kind of crazy. Perfect, I can sell my house, but where the heck am I going to go? And so we would make sure, like, hey, we'll find you.
Okay.
Yeah, when you're representing the seller, because that's number one. Like, you do not want to cause your client to be homeless.
Right.
That's like not an ideal situation. That's one of the questions we ask up front. If I sold your home in 30 days, what would you do? And we know to ask that because we know we've heard some horror stories. Like, cool, sold my house, I'm living in a hotel because all the Airbnbs are full. Yeah, and we train daily here, so we really go by, like, we're going into the basics, right? You've got to be good at contract writing, you have to be good at communication, you have to be very good at negotiation, and one of the things that we do is when we meet with sellers, we look at their house to see if there's any 1, 2, or 3 things specifically we can do to increase the sale price of their home, right? Is there any easy money, any money that they may be leaving on the table? Real basic stuff, but it goes a long ways. And we'll shoot you straight, like, hey, if you replace the windows, that's going to add value. Or a lot of times it would be a house without heating and air. If you add a heating and air system, it's going to drastically improve it. If you pave your RV parking or fix the falling down fence, because we know there's 7 things that buyers look at. The first one's curb appeal. The second one is the entry. The third one is the kitchen, because that's where most of the living is conducted. The fourth one is the master bedroom. That's where the owners spend most of their time. The 5th one's other living areas, the 6th ones are the other bedrooms, and the 7th most important is the backyard. So we're going to go through that mentally without maybe you even knowing if you're a seller and kind of check off the boxes. Okay, curb appeal's terrible, we need to fix that before we do anything with the kitchen or the backyard. Okay, that's dialed the entryway, right? The agent's unlocking the door and the buyers are looking around, see the cobwebs and the busted light fixture and, the stain coming out of the doorbell where the roof leaked 2 years ago, and they go, ugh. So that's what we do, and it's very basic stuff, but you'd be surprised at how easy it is to skip some of those things, and then our clients leave money on the table. So we do our very best to maximize the dollar in the current market, because there's 2 things that happen. There's the highest possible sales price, which may be in a decade, and then there's the market price. So if someone wants the highest possible sales price, and it's nowhere near the market price, we're going to advise them of that as well, because we don't get paid unless something sells. Like, hey, you may be best to wait 5 years. If you're looking for 500 and it's worth 400 today, we can't do. We're not magicians.
And we do the same with buyers. Like, we'll sit down and with you and find out what you're looking for and then show you what is available in your price point and say, hey, what you're looking for and what you can afford are not in the realm. But let's find out what's most important to you and get you into a home for a couple of years, build up that equity, and then maybe we can work towards your dream house. But if you don't know the market and the inventory, we're not going to be able to have that conversation.
Yeah. And this is not like car sales. If you're buying a home, you've got basically 30 days to back out. So we're never going to strong arm manipulate you into signing a contract, gotcha, and then you drive away in your overpriced Toyota Corolla and barf when you get home realizing you got ripped off. Like, if you ever get New Deal and you feel buyer's remorse, know that's totally normal, and also know that there's ways to get out of it unscathed.
We did that this week.
Yeah,
Sorry, Matt.
and it happens. So we talk about that up front. Like, hey, you've looked at one house, you're writing an offer. It's pretty normal for you to wake up tomorrow and go, oh my God, what have I done? I think this is a good deal, I think you should stay in it, but if you feel that way, just, there's options, right? One of them, you just don't deposit the earnest money. They can chase you around court for it and they'll never get it. Or say I inspected the electric bill and it was higher than I wanted it to be. And so we could come up with a million reasons to get someone out of a transaction as a buyer, as long as they're within like the first 2 weeks, essentially. Or you could always just go buy a Ferrari, blow your credit, and not qualify for the loan. So we got away. Why didn't you go buy a Ferrari?
It's pretty gangster.
A Lambo. Yeah. So that's kind of all I have. Any questions? We can kind of just open this up to questions or thoughts or whatever about real estate or anything else.
How involved should a real estate agent be in helping you find houses and what you're looking for? Like, because in this day and age, there's a lot of tools for a buyer. Like, I can go on Zillow and see what information's out there, and they give like a lot of estimates and value and rental value. Do we find that's accurate? Do we find that you guys have different information that we don't have access to?
We do have some information that the general public doesn't have access to. That would be like the private remarks that are not public. And Zillow thought their valuations were super accurate. They thought they were so accurate that they spent billions of dollars buying real estate based on their estimates. So they would buy it below their estimate, and then they would flip it. Zillow lost billions of dollars in their stock price because of that, because they were totally wrong. I've always said Zillow's plus or minus 20%. So if it's a $300,000 home, it could be anywhere from $240 to $360, right? So if Zillow thinks it's 300, it could be anywhere from 240 to 360. They're within 20%. And there are some markets where they're more accurate, or some areas. Like if you go to a subdivision that's all 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 to 1,700 square foot homes, all built within the same 2 years by the same builder, Zillow's going to be pretty accurate because there's not much difference there. But when you go to neighborhoods that are less, so that would be a homogeneous neighborhood where everything's kind of the same, like milk is homogeneous, it's like all the same. Different cows, but somehow it's the same. I don't know, they boil it. So it really is there, and there's like markets, right? There's the United States market, there's the West, there's Oregon, there's Southern Oregon, and then there's Medford, and then there's Southeast Medford, there's East Medford, there's Northeast Medford, there's West. So there's micro markets inside of markets, and then even in markets there's neighborhoods, like Summerfield is in Southeast Medford, but there's an older part and a newer part. And there are some that are right up to attached homes, like townhomes, and there's some that are all detached. There's some that are on busier roads, like that back up to North Phoenix. So all of those things we take into account because we work with lots of buyers and sellers, and we know what they're looking for and how that affects the value, where Zillow doesn't. So it really depends on what it is. We always look at Zillow because we know that our clients are looking at Zillow. So we can address that up front, like, hey, here's the deal. Your house is worth this. I looked, Zillow says it's worth this, and here's what they're missing. They have not been inside of this home. That's one of the big ones. They don't know anything about whether or not you put that pool in, or paid your RV parking, or your roof is shot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then as far as what a buyer's agent's job is, back in the day, it was the buyer's agent that knew all the inventory. The MLS used to be printed once a week, and it was a big book. And so there was no electronic version, and the agents had all the control. And now, with the advent of the internet and basically ListHub, which disseminates to all real estate websites, as far as what's for sale, now not what's coming soon, you don't get to see what's coming soon, we do, but what's for sale, buyers have access to that. It's very much flat in that, so it's very common where, let's say Adam has 5 buyers, and it's Saturday night, and I'm hanging out with my wife and my kid, and Logan is one of my buyers, and Jason's another one, and it's Saturday night, and they're on their phones and laptops. They're going to know more about what they're looking for, right? Because I may have 5 buyers in 5 different areas looking in 5 different price points, but you're looking from 4 to 450 in this zip code in these neighborhoods. So it is very common for buyers to also find homes, or to find the majority of homes, just based on the availability of information and like kind of the Amazon effect, right? Like you can be looking at homes on your lunch break, when you're supposed to be working, as you're driving, right? And so a lot of times we do get beat to the punch with some of that stuff, and there's other times where we find stuff that is like, hey, I know you're looking right here, but there's one over here that I think could work. Like I have people, I'm looking 1,400 to 1,600 square foot, and they buy a 1,200 square foot house. that we found because they were not looking there. So we also can get a sense of what you want and need and look at things in a different angle than what you want. But yes, it is very common and it's totally normal if the buyer finds a lot of the homes.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the way of it goes now. But the buyer's agent's job has kind of gone away from like necessarily like always finding every home to letting you know, is this a good deal?
Yeah.
What's the resale value on it? Why is this one so much cheaper than all the other ones? That's really where our value comes in. And then understanding the good lenders, how the appraisal process is going to work, what's normal for inspections, what's not normal, right? A brand new house, you should have everything fixed on the inspection report. It's a brand new home. 1974, probably a different price point and probably different expectations around what's normal there. So that's really where the value of the buyer's agent comes in.
Negotiation.
Yeah, be able to negotiate, get the close date that you want, make sure you're not homeless, have options.
Stack on top of that you may not, the buyer may not always be purchasing a home where the listing agent is totally competent. So in some scenarios, that would be where like we as the buyer's agents who do this 300 times a year know what to look for and make sure that like, hey, I don't think we should close. I don't think the seller's going to move out. The other agents have communicated like there's some red flags coming up. The thing with the roof.
Final walkthroughs are
Stuff like
super crucial, right? We always want to do a final walkthrough if humanly possible. Sometimes you can't, but make sure the house is in the same condition before you wire your $400,000 as it was when you looked at it. Because we've had situations where they took the lights out. Day before close, seller moved out a day early, and they took all the lights out. They took the fridge, they took the range, and they took the dishwasher. And we have leverage when we rep a buyer when we haven't given the money. As soon as you buy the house and it's closed, now you got to chase the seller around. And they just move, so you don't even know their address is. And the other agent may not answer your phone calls anymore because they're not obligated to. And then you got an issue. So that would be another example of like what a buyer's agent can do to help you out is just like, oh, okay, we're doing our walkthrough today. You'd be surprised at how many people don't do a walkthrough. And then these things happen, but because we do so much, we know, hey, here's our protocol, here's the things that we do to make sure or to ensure that we have the smoothest possible transaction, right? Sometimes we get yelled at when we try to do a walkthrough because the people don't want you in their house because they're moving. Get brain damage. Come back with a black eye, like, all right, we're scheduled for 3 o'clock today. No walkthrough. Yes, I don't know what happened. I fell down the stairs.
I think one good point on that too is as an agent, our job is to provide our clients information so that way they can make informed decisions. Ultimately, it's not going to be our decision on whether someone moves forward with something or what they request on a repair addendum or what's going to be important to them. Only the buyer or the seller is going to know what's super important to them. But as long as we're there giving them quality information so that way they can make informed decisions based on their specific wants and needs, and hopefully they're communicating that with their agent back and forth, that's really a summarized version of what we do to make sure that you as a client have great information so you can make decisions based on your own wants, needs, and desires, because we're not always going to know exactly what those are. So, that's a good note. Stay in good communication with your agent. Let them know what you're wanting, what you're looking for, and then let them give you the information so you can make a decision and feel really good about it when you do.
Because it is, right? It's not our money. It's not our home. We're not going to be offended. That's the most fun. They're like, keep driving. This place is lame. It's like, all right, yeah, I'm not going to show you a house you don't want to look at. So that's one thing we also do to save everybody time is like, hey, if you got 15 houses you like, drive by all of them super fast and you'll eliminate half of them just based on the exterior and the location, right? Park, roll down the window, you hear semi-trucks, nope, go to the next one. It's like on, was that Old School, where they're trying to sell the house and then the neighbor's dressed as a Nazi mowing the lawn. So drive-bys, advising people just to do drive-bys will save you hours as a buyer, right? I mean, real estate agents are cool, but you probably don't want to spend all Saturday with us. So it's like, hey, I'll show you 20, I'll make you barf. We'll go until you cannot walk anymore. But if you want to do anything else on your weekend, let's do a quick drive-bys of all these puppies and then set the appointments to save you a bunch of time. Anybody else?
I'll keep asking questions.
What you got?
So rental, our dream is rentals, like to build up our rental properties. How much do you know about current rental value? Like what are people renting for these days? Because that's not your niche. Your niche is buying and selling, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know quite a bit about that because we work with a ton of investors and I have a bunch of rental properties. Most of them are in Southern Oregon. So yeah, I mean that discussion really goes back to like location, year, does it have AC or not, beds, baths, kind of foundation it's on, all that stuff matters. But yeah, I mean you can still buy rentals and they can still cash flow today. I always recommend buying multis. If you can, so that duplex, threeplex, or fourplex. But if money is tight, you can also house hack, where you just buy a house with 5% down conventional loan every year, and then pretty soon you end up in 10 years or in 11 years you end up with 10 houses, and by the 6th or 7th house, depending on how you structure it, it's paying for the mortgage on the one that you live in. So now you're living for free while
We
you're
have a
getting debt paid out.
property management
Matthews did that.
company in our
Yeah,
office.
yeah, Eli Matthews.
And he's
is a good
also
example.
on our team, so we'll just say, hey, I have clients looking at this, can you give me an analysis of what it would rent for?
And there's tech out there too. We
Yeah.
have premium subscriptions to tech that give us rental ranges. And it pulls rental comps from Craigslist and Facebook and apartments.com and all the rental websites. Zillow offers for rents now. So it aggregates data and gives us ranges. And then we just verify that with a property manager. Yeah.
And over half of our team own, or at least half of our team, I would say, owns rental properties. So we're always talking with each other about,
If you have a rental property,
The rental
raise your
stuff.
hand.
yeah,
Please stand up. Please stand up. And a lot of that too, when we're working with appraisers value income properties, and they ask us what the current rents are, because we can find houses for sale that are tenant occupied, look at the rents. So we can pull our own rent comps, and then we also can talk to appraisers that also pull rent comps. Because they'll call property management companies when they're valuing investment properties to figure out what the rental ranges are. And then when we're helping people buy those, we see those appraisals that also have the numbers. So between what's available in our multiple listing service and like the private remarks about what rental rates are, access to technology, and then access also to the appraisers that do it, we have a pretty good idea. And then verify with the property manager, like, hey, if this is your property manager, double check that they're sure that they can rent it for that. Because I'm not responsible to get the tenant, they are. And they may know something that we don't, so we always verify with a third party. And then stay conservative, like, okay, worst case scenario, say it's gonna rent for $1,500, let's run the numbers at $1,300 just to make sure that, like, you know, it's still a sound investment, like kind of worst case scenario. Because especially with investors, we don't want them to buy one, we want them to buy lots, so we want them to be successful. So we wanna make sure that we set our clients up to be successful, so they wanna continue with that. Because, you know, clients for life thing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it.
That's all I got.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice. So, well, thank you for coming.
couple things.
Yes, the boss is speaking now.
No. Your team, Adam, has been nominated for Southern Oregon's Best Vets, right?
Yes, you know, I'm sure people are getting emails and texts and seeing stuff on Facebook about like the best of the best with the Mail Tribune. Anyone see that or heard of it? Yeah, so if you could go in there and I kind of forgot to register us and I did nothing until today, and the voting stops on the 14th. And my Facebook ads all got shut down because they thought we were running
Asking
political
for
campaigns.
votes.
If you click on the Mail Tribune website, yeah, I got calendars. I've got this calendar to do next year in June. We're under real estate offices, and we're the Rutledge Property Group. I think I have a premium listing up now, but if you could vote us as the best real estate office, which is the Rutledge Property Group, that'd be greatly appreciated.
And if you're here, we would also love to see you guys at our event on the 27th at the Village Center Park up on Shamrock.
Yeah, it's off of Shamrock, Southeast Medford, Maharville. It's a nice big park. It's got some shaded areas, and I think the play structures are shaded too. So we have
2 food trucks.
2 food trucks, a bunch of games. We'll have drinks and food. It's kind of come as go as you please. What's the times?
11 to 2. Adam's buying everything, so just show up and eat and bring your kids.
So 8:27 from 11 to 2. Goodness gracious.
11 to 2. Village Center Park. What is it?
Keyboards, people.
It's not a house.
Yeah, and then, you know, we always hope we add value. So if you know anyone that's thinking about buying, selling, or investing, we'd love to chat with them. we're super low pressure. We always start with an appointment or a consultation to see if we're a good fit and see how we can help them. And you know, that's really ultimately what all this is for, is to add value to everybody that we interact with. And then obviously when it's time to buy or sell or invest, we'd love to chat.
And you're more than welcome to bring them to one of our events, the park day or one of these.
Yeah, bring your friends to the park on the 27th between 11 and 2. And if you did not get an invite for that, let Kat know. We'll put you in our database to make sure that we send those out. So if you're in our database, you get the texts letting you know that this stuff is happening. You also get the emails in the e-bites.
And if you guys want a copy of the slides and today's content and the whiteboard notes, just email me Kat, K-A-T, at 541sold.com and I can send it to you.
I'll say one more thing, you guys are gonna be super hard pressed to find someone who's as giving as Adam on the stuff like this, not only with like the events that he hosts, giving you guys food, drinks, but the knowledge that you're gonna get from him out of these short little meetings are, I mean, it's unreal. It's like irreplaceable knowledge that you can have for the rest of your life. So he's constantly giving this stuff, so share the gift, you know. We're happy to invite pretty much anybody who you want to come. Have them come talk to us, have them chat real estate with us. We're happy to give them, you know, information. Adam's constantly doing these, so take advantage of it, share it with your friends. If you know someone who's interested in real estate, you couldn't land in a better place, so feel free to spread the word, and if you want to get on our list, let us know. It's just nothing but giving constant information and value for you guys, so share that with your friends.
Yeehaw. Thanks, Logan. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. I'm sure there's more beer downstairs. We can
There's
just
food
rage.
too.
Yeah, please eat it.